All right, so we are continuing with this idea of writing equations for lines. So yesterday we learned how to write the equation when you're given the slope and a point, right? And then we practiced getting it into standard form. We're going to pick up there and continue learning other ways to write equations. Today, make it a little more challenging. So the first one we're going to look at is writing the equation when you're just given 2 points on the line. All right, so you have some steps written out in your notes that are not up on the board. So if you want to read through those, we can. It says to first find the slope between the 2 points using the slope formula. So that's where you subtract the y's on top, x's on the bottom. After that, it's pretty much what we did yesterday. So we're going to plug the slope and pick one of the points, use the x value and the y value. Either point is fine. That'll help us find the b. Once we have the m and the b, we can write it in slope-intercept form. From there, we can go to standard form. So it's just an additional step at the beginning from the equations we were writing yesterday. So first, slope. How am I going to find the slope?
3 minus -7 over 1 minus -7.
Very good. Subtract your y's on top. So y2 minus y1. So 3 minus -7 over x2 minus x1. Simplify that. So it's like a plus on top and bottom. So 10 over 2, which is 5. So that's half the battle. We found M. The other thing we need to find is B. And how do we do that?
Plug in the slope, the x value, and the y value.
Yeah, plug in one of the x's and one of the y's. It really doesn't matter which one you pick. I usually pick the one that makes the math look easier. So if you asked me if I wanted to use 2 positives or 2 negatives, I'd pick the point that had 2 positives. Okay? If you want to walk on the wild side and plug these 2 in, you'll get the same B as we do. Either way, it should give you the same B value.
Oh, so we can take either.
So you can pick either one, but you can't mix and match. You can't plug in like +1 and -7. You got to go with one of the ordered pairs. So I went with the one where they were both positive. So 3. So let me show you real quick. That's going to give us 5, right? Subtract 5 from both sides, you get -2. Okay, just for fun, let's say I did it the other way. So I would have -7 equals 5 times -1. So see how that would give me... Right, so you should get the same B no matter which point you pick. Which is kind of cool, right? I always thought that was pretty awesome. Okay? So pick the ordered pair that looks the easier math. I usually go with the ones that are positives. Or if one of them makes a fraction, go away, that would be a good place to start. It's up to you, though. Okay? Once you have the M and the B, we do what we did yesterday. We practiced it a little bit on our homework, too. Y equals the new M, which is 5x minus 2.
That is a standard form.
All right. Now, the directions also say standard form. So how would I get this into standard form? We are going to start by getting the x term in the front. So I am going to subtract 5x. What's the problem?
It's negative.
You can't lead with a negative. So you can divide everything by -1. You can multiply everything by -1. Either way, you basically just need to go through and change all the signs. Okay? What are your questions? So once again, I'm given 2 ordered pairs. I want to write the equation in the 2 forms we know.
5 minus 6.
So start by finding the slope. Good. 5 minus 6 over -2 minus a -4. Hey, enough with the side conversations. What do you get on the top?
1. -1.
-1. What do you get on the bottom?
2.
Good. So negative 1/2 is our slope. From there, start with your y equals mx plus b. The next thing we need to find is b. You are going to use one of the x's and y's. It doesn't matter which one. In this case, I am using the negative 4, 6. If you use the negative 2, 5, either way, you're going to get rid of that fraction and that negative right away. So they're both equally challenging, I would say. So go ahead and multiply that out. In this case, I'm getting a 2. Negative 1/2 times negative 4 is positive 2. Subtract the 2 from both sides, you get b equals 4. So, what is my equation in slope-intercept form?
Y equals 5x minus
Negative 1/2 x plus 4. Good. So we're about halfway through. Next, we want to go for standard form. So standard form, we want the x in the front, then the y, then the equal sign, then a number. So what am I going to do? Plus 1/2 x. Sneak that guy up front. So 1/2 x plus y equals 4. Multiply everything by 2. All right, so what am I going to get?
1x plus 2y equals 8.
Very good. Yeah, 1x is the same thing as x. We don't need to argue over it. All right, you guys.
Wait, where did the 2 come from?
Enough with the talking.
Where did the 2 come from?
The 2 came from the fact that in standard form you cannot have any fractions. So one of the tricks that we use when we're writing equations in standard form to get rid of the fractions is we multiply by the denominator. So if you multiply this one by 2 to get rid of the 1/2, you have to multiply everything by 2. The other thing that we do is we can't have negatives in the front. And for that one, we either multiply through by a negative or divide by a negative. All right. 2 points. What do I do to start? 3 minus 3 over negative 4 minus 5. What's 3 minus 3?
0.
0. So my m is 0. When my m is 0, what does the line look like? Very good. It is a horizontal line. Do you remember the equation of a horizontal line? It's y equals a number. What do you think that number is going to be in this problem? 3. Yeah. Now, here is y. Mathematically speaking, you probably already know what it is, especially if you know that a horizontal line has a y equals a number. When you plug 0 in to the equation for your m and one of those points, do you see how you get a b value of 3? Yeah. Which makes sense because we know it's a horizontal line through the y-axis at 3. So the y-intercept would obviously be 3. When you go to write the equation, you would have y equals 0x plus 3. What is 0x? You don't need to write that. So if you remember the special case, once you get the m equals 0, you could jump right to the end. Say, oh, this is going to be a y equals line. What does y equal? It equals 3. That's my equation. Okay? Or you can go through the steps like normal and you'd still get this answer. What do you think this equation in standard form looks like? It's the same thing. So yeah, if it says write both, like on a test, if there's a blank, you would write on both lines standard form. If it's a special case line, there's only really one form, okay? Right. On the homework, if you just wrote it once, that's fine. On a quiz or test, though, if there's a blank and you feel compelled to put something there, just write it twice, okay? What are your questions? All right, here's the next one. All right, how do I start?
5 minus negative 4 over 5 minus 3.
Good. Subtract your y's. So 5 minus negative 2 over, subtract your x's, 4 minus negative 3. Up top, what do you get?
7.
On the bottom, what do you get? 7. What's 7 over 7?
1.
1. So my slope here is 1. Now, I would obviously be drawn to one of these ordered pairs. It would be the one where they're both positive. I don't want to work with negatives if I don't have to. So I'm going to plug 5 in for the x, 4 in, no, other way. 5 in for the y, 4 in for the x, 1 in for the m. I'm going to solve for the b. B equals 1. So y equals
1x plus 1.
1x plus 1, which you can just write as y equals x plus 1. All right, so that is the slope-intercept form. Now we got to find the standard form. So I need to do what? Subtract 1x from both sides. Write it up front. I cannot lead with a negative, so then what? Get all the signs to switch either by multiplying through by a negative 1 or dividing by a negative 1. Questions? All right. Negative what? Negative 6 what? Minus negative 3. Good. Perfect. So minus a negative becomes a plus. Negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3 over negative 1, which is 3. There are a lot of 3's in this problem. All right. Doesn't matter which point you use. I'm going to use the one with smaller numbers. They both involve a negative, so there's no way around that one. So I'm just using that first point for negative 3. So negative 3 equals my m, which is 3, my x for that point, which is 4, plus b. So make that a 12. Subtract 12 from both sides. What is your b?
Negative 15.
Negative 15. So y equals 3x minus 15. Yup, don't get your m and b confused. All right, halfway through, how do I get the standard form? Subtract the 3x from both sides. So negative 3x plus y equals negative 15. Then what? You have to divide everything by a negative 1, which basically just changes your signs. So 3x minus y equals positive 15.
Negative 3 over 2.
Yes.
Over.
Same setup. You just have fractions. So don't give up. Don't freak out. Just start plugging away at it. So you are right. 2/5 minus
Negative 3 over 2.
-3 over 2 over 1/2 minus 3 over 2.
Wouldn't that just be negative 2 on the bottom?
So on the bottom, yeah, that has common denominators already, so you'll get negative 2 over 2, which is negative 1.
Oh.
On the top, We don't have common denominators yet. Let's get common denominators. So I'll show you what magically happened there. The common denominator between 5 and 2 would be 10. So multiply the top by 2 over 2. Multiply the bottom by 5 over 5. Not the bottom, the other one, the second fraction. So 4, hold on, say that again.
That's too much work.
Then use a calculator. Okay? Boom! Dropped it. If you don't like doing these, that's fine. But you need to buy that calculator. You need to learn how to type it in. Skipping the fractions is no longer an option. Okay? So either learn how to use the calculator or learn how to do it by hand. All right? I'm doing it by hand. So the minus negative becomes a plus. Up front, we end up with 4 tenths, 15 tenths. We already talked about our denominator. We end up with negative 2 over 2. That gives me 19 tenths over negative 1. Dividing anything by a negative 1 just does what? Makes it a negative. So my slope is negative 19 over 10. Now, I need to find my B. This is the same problem. Are you guys good?
Yeah.
It just takes up 2 slides. Are we good on the M part? Okay. So now I'm going to go with y equals mx plus b. I'm going to use the point that doesn't have any negatives in it. So I'm using this guy back here. So 2/5 is my y equals my m, which is negative 19 tenths. I found that on the previous slide. My x is 1/2. I'm going to multiply these. So this is going to be negative 19 over 20. Add 19 over 20 to both sides. I'm going to show you the work over here. So I have 2 over 5 plus 19 over 20. I need common denominators. 20 will work. So that actually gives me 8 over 20 plus 19 over 20, which is where we got this guy. Okay? Or use a calculator. There's a whole box of them right in front of me. Okay, am I done?
Yes.
I mean, I've been working for 2 whole slides. I better be done.
No.
No, I'm not. We need to actually write it. So y equals negative 19 tenths x plus 27 twentieths.
Wait a minute.
That is standard form.
Wait, why did it come from whole?
Which part are you? We used the M from the previous slide. We used the B we just found.
Alright, never mind.
All right. Standard form.
Wait, don't do that.
No, that's it, folks.
No, think about the color.
Yes, I folks.
Oh, plus 1.
Let's focus on the numbers on the board. Okay, so what do I do to get this into standard form?
Add 19 over 10.
Add 19 over 10x. So
Make it 19 over 10.
19 over 10x plus y equals 27 over 20. Now, I need to get rid of all the fractions, not just the first term. The negative, you only have to worry about the leader. The fractions, you got to worry about the whole thing. I can still do it in one move, though. What should I multiply by? 10 will not get rid of this guy.
2. 5.
20. Multiply everything by 20. Here, you'll just have a 2 left over. So you have to do 2 times 19. Here, you'll just have a 20y. Here, you'll just be left with the 27 because these will be 1 and 1. So my final answer in standard form is 38x because I had 2 times 19 20y equals 27. If you missed it on the last slide, this right here was the SI form, okay? All right, I'm going to do the summary on this page. So today we learned
We went over.
the difference between yesterday and today was today we were writing equations given 2 points. Yesterday we learned standard form and writing equations. All right, homework coming at you. Reviewing this stuff tomorrow. The quizzes are going in the grade book later today. We'll also go over those tomorrow as well.